Ms.Marvel, episode 5, Time and Again. And it's your boy Icon with a little Marvel TV. And this is the only show that's come on this week. And so it's been a minute. I feel like it's been forever since I posted a video. But like I said, we only got one show for the moment until that Harley Quinn drops. And then hopefully we get a little Doom Patrol. But for now, for you Marvel fans, we're going over a little Ms. Marvel in the Marvel Universe. So in this particular episode, because I had to rewatch the last one, I forgot what happened. Kamala had, she threw her hand up, and Jin Mama had struck the bangle, and it took Kamala back in time, to 1942. We were in 1942 British Columbia, and she's walking around like a train station, and she doesn't know what she's doing, and then everything. So that whole scene had to be set up, and it had to be explained. So in order for us to get to the end, we have to go back to the beginning, and they take us back to 1942 during the partition, and that was the moment where India was trying to get its independence, free from the British. The British were taking over, they were killing people, burning houses, burning villages, whatever. And while we're there, that's when we meet Kamala's grand nanny, great nanny, for the first time. Because remember, she's from a different dimension. Her and the Jinn, they're all from different dimensions, and they got separated when they were in the cave. And then great grand nanny, she took the bangle, Asha, and then when Asha had the bangle, then Jinn Mama, she was just like, oh, we'll come and find you. And we never found out what happened to them. They even said, during the dinner table when they were, when the brother was getting married, the wife, the fiance, she had asked whatever happened to great grand nanny, and then they said that her story is a mystery, but her story is also legend. And then they also told the story about when their grandmother, was a child, the stars, picked her up and wished her away to her daddy and everything. But it was just like a story at that point. Nobody really believed it, especially Kamala Mama. So now we're learning what's going on with Asha, great grand nanny, and she gets to a village after she's separated from the Jinn. And, she's in a village, she's sleeping on the floor. And while she's sleeping on the floor, she meets this peacemaker. I mean, I don't want to call him a freedom fighter because he seemed like he was basically trying to fight for he was fighting the good fight in a peaceful way. He was basically trying to lead the people through non-violent means. And Asha had, she found the village, and then she was sleeping on the ground for some reason, and then he poked her. And this was a funny scene because when the guy poked her, because he was like, yo, why's this lady sleeping on the floor? She grabbed him, and then she was just like, if you touch me again, I would break your leg. And he was like, woman, my leg is already broken. So then, he was like, there's food and there's shelter if you want shelter. And then she comes in, the two of them get together. And we also, the whole thing with Jin Mama, she was just like, oh, your great grandmother betrayed us all, she betrayed us, she left with the bangle and we never saw her again. And then we never knew what happened to her. Come to find out, just like everything, and we should have known, the reason why she disappeared, the reason why she didn't come back was because she met a boy. And when she met the great grandfather, the two of them fell in love, and then they had Kamala's grandmother. So now she's a child. During that time, things were getting a little bad for their family because I guess he even said the great grandfather said that because he was Muslim, people had shut him out and people weren't buying supplies from him. They weren't buying milk from his wife and everything, and they were there. I guess because the British wanted war. They wanted people to fight and slaughter themselves, but because he was taking a non-violent approach, they basically got the people to shut him out of society, and he was very frustrated by that. But his lovely wife was there to calm his nerves and focus him on what's important, which is family. So then after that, that's when Jin Mama showed up, and she lied. She flat out lied because she told Kamala, she was like, oh, after I gave your great grandmother the bangle and she left, I never saw her again. Oh, this lying ass, she saw her. She came to the house, she found her in the village, and then when she found her, she was just like, oh, we thought you were dead. And then she was like, now we can put the plan into action. She's like, we can go home. We can all return to our dimension. And then she was like, you want to go home, don't you? And then she was like, of course. Asha was like, of course I want to go home. But she was lying because she doesn't want to go home anymore because now, much like Talro on Superman, she's found family. And because she's found family, she doesn't want to leave her family behind. So she lied and told Jin Jin Mama, she was just like, yes, she said that, she said I hid the bangle, and she was like, I must find the bangle, it'll take some time, and she was like, you have until tomorrow, and then she was like, then we will come for the bangle. So after that, she went to her husband, and then she convinced her husband, she was like, the British are killing everybody, they're slaughtering us and burning houses, we need to go to protect our family, and then she like swooped up all their stuff, and then she rushed her whole family down to the train station, and then when they got to the train station, that was when her husband, he got to the point where he was like, all right, we've been married for like X amount of years, we got a kid together, it's about time you tell me what you've been running from the very beginning. And then she was just like, oh, she was like, how did you know I was running from something? He was like, woman, I've been sharing a bed with you for God knows how long. He was like, clearly you're running from something or somebody. And that's when she showed him the bangle and showed him that it had magic powers. And then in his mind, he was probably like, you had magic power all this time. You could have stopped the war. Like that's, you could tell that was going through his mind. But then, she was just like, she gave the bangle to her daughter. And then she's like, protect our daughter. And then, like he took the daughter and then like he walked away. Asha then confronted Jin Mama. And then while she confronted her, that's when the Jin Mom stabbed Asha and killed Asha. Because she tried to make it seem like, oh, your grandmother betrayed me. I'm like, you killed her. You know what I'm saying? Like, shame on you. Like, you killed her. Like, you the one that committed cold-blooded murder. And then, so then after that, like, after she got the stab wound, she was slowly dying. She was being pushed by people because, people are still trying to get on trains. She got trampled over because the dad has a bad leg. I guess, like, he lost the grip on his daughter and his daughter got lost and then she got separated from him. Now that Asha's dying on the floor, the dad is like somewhere looking for his daughter, and the daughter is just standing on one side screaming for her, for her parents. And then here comes Kamala. This is the moment where Kamala got sent back in time. And when Kamala got sent back in time, she saw Asha, and then Asha recognized her, but she was like, oh, I'm not who you think I am. And she was like, oh, but your family. And then she was just like, you must save my daughter. And then she gave her a photograph of, like the family. And she was like, go do great things, child. And then the mom died. And then like, that was sad because they talk about Asha, they talk about like Kamala's great-great-grandmother, like, oh, she was like such an inspiration, she had a great story, her story's legend, this, that, and the third. And then it's like she just died on the side of the road while everybody stepped all over it. I'm like, that's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's like when you actually find out how she went out, it's like that was wrong. Like that they could have did better for her, but like she didn't even get a funeral because the dad, because then after that, then Kamala went, she found her Nani, and then when she found her, she was just like, listen, she's like, I can take you back to your dad, but she was like, she said, I can't create stars, but I can create like glowing light platforms. She used the light platforms to get her Nani to get to her dad, and then when the dad saw her and found her, one of the platforms broke, and then it burst into like stars or whatever, like magic dust, whatever, which were stars, and then the stars, basically like took the child, and it showed the child the way to her dad, which was the story all along. And then Kamala found out that she was the person who created the stars to help her Nanny get back to her daddy, and that was cute. They stole it from Harry Potter, more so every time travel story that's ever created on the planet. Because even in Harry Potter, because the whole thing about it was, like the whole story, they did it in Lovecraft Country with the whole baseball bat, like, I got you, kid. Like the whole thing with her being the person, that, ended up using the stars, to help her grandmother. In Harry Potter with the Dementors, with the Expecto Patronum, where Harry saw himself produce the Patronus charm. That's why he knew he could do it. I was just like, yeah, that was very cute. So, I like a good time travel piece. So I was actually okay with that. And then when she found out that she was the one, and then after that, like then the dad took his daughter, and then he just got on the train and he dipped, and they never found the grandmother's body, and she just died on the side of the road, which is fucked up. And then after that, then Kamala got sent back to her after she realized she was the one responsible for the story. She got sent back to the present, and when she got sent back to the present, everybody's there. The djinn is there, the red daggers are there, and then there's like this big glowing rift that's in the middle of the room. Everybody thought the rift was the portal to get them back to their dimension. So of course the black girl had to die because they sent her to touch the rift, and then the rift, like burnt her body up, and then she spontaneously combusted. And then here's where they lost me, because the Jin mom, she's been beefing with Kamala since the beginning. She's been trying to kill her. She's been trying to take the bangle for herself. She's been trying to obtain the power. It's been this whole big thing where the Jin mom has been trying to kill Kamala and take Kamala out because they're mortal enemies. And then when they got to the point where the Jin mom was like, "Oh, I can go through the rift. She's like, I can go through the rift without being, sent to dust." And then that's when Kamala went to go talk to her, and then she was just like, no. She was like, Asha just wanted to be with her family because she was like, if you go through the portal, you're gonna leave your son behind. And then she was like, I already left him behind. And then she was like, no. She was like, Asha just wanted to be with her family, and she said Asha didn't get to be with her family because of you. You killed her. The least you can do is stay here and be with your family and not run like a coward. And then that's when the mom was like, yes, you're right. She's like, I must make sacrifices for my son. And I was like, what? I was like, hold up. It took it's been like 3 episodes. You've been trying to go home, kill people. This girl gives you one sappy speech, and it wasn't even a good speech. Like, she gave you one speech, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, after three episodes of trying to kill you, now that you've said one thing, she's like, I've completely done a 360, and I'm like, what? Like, no. See, I say this again. This is why the Marvel shows, the Marvel Disney Plus shows, are suffering from having short seasons, because now we're rushing. It's like, you had conflict in the last episode, and now that conflict is immediately resolved in this episode. If you're going to resolve the conflict that quickly, why have the conflict to begin with? It doesn't make any sense. The same thing with Hawkeye. In the Hawkeye series, one episode, Hawkeye is like, oh, Kate, we're not friends, we're not partners, go home. And then in the very next episode, he's like, you're my partner, kid. Then what'd you beef for? It's like, they need more episodes. Like, this shit is like, they're suffering. Like, they're really suffering, but whatever. So now that Jin Mama, decided to do a complete 360, she touches the rift, and right before she touches the rift, she says her son's name. And then once she said her son's name, I guess like her essence, her magical essence got transferred over to her son. So now, despite not having a bangle, unless she did have a second bangle and she just never said anything, despite not having a bangle, the Jin mom's power got transferred over to her son, and now her son basically has the exact same power as Kamala, minus the bangle. And now the Jin mama dead, half the Jin is dead, and the rift closed, and and then I guess we just ain't never gonna talk about the Jin again. Kamala's mom had stalked her phone to find out where her location was, and then when her mom found her, she saw her creating light fixtures with the bangle, and then she was like, oh my god, what is this power, Kamala? And then the grandmother was like, I've been telling you this for years. And she's like, our family has magic. And then they embraced. The mom apologized to the grandmother apologized to the mama apologized to the daughter, so far, and then there's their one big happy Pakistani family, and it's all gravy. We put a nice little bow on the Pakistan storyline, and now we're coming back to America. But then in America, the son, because he has these powers now and he doesn't know what to do with them, he ends up finding, I was about to call him Brandon or Brian. They were calling him Brian. His name was like Butch or something. I swear to Christ, I thought his name was legitimately Brian. But the Jin Mama's son, he finds Butch, or we'll call him Brian. He finds Brian to talk to him about why his hands are glowing. The two of them have an awkward conversation because they're actually not friends. And while they're having the conversation, a drone flies over the kid's house. The kid said he lost his parents. And I'm like, if you lost your parents, why do you live above a pizza shop? Like, who are you living with? So is he a squatter? A drone appeared over his room and blew up the pizza shop or the deli. I forget what it was, but it blew the building up. Basically, his house got blown up. So he's obviously not going to die because, the kid's going to, the Jin Mama's son, he going to use his power to, protect him or whatever. But there is a bigger threat here because, that was how the episode ended, and thank you for tuning in. But there's a bigger threat here because if the Jin aren't the villains, because we got one more episode to go. So if the Jins aren't the legit villains of the season, who sent the drones? Is it this, what is it? The DOCOD, the DCO, like that group, that metahuman, task force group? Like, are they the true villains here? Are they, looking for the kid? Because they're still searching for the girl who has the light powers, or the Pakistani person who has like the light powers and everything. They're still searching for that person. And because this kid's hand's glowing now, do they think he's the person and they're coming for him? Why do they try to blow him up? Is there a bigger force at play here? Tune in for the season finale of Ms.Marvel and we will find out. Yeah, so it was cool. Seeing the old village and the 1942, like the great grandmother was gorgeous. Like the story about how she fell in love was nice. It was very nice. It was a nice episode. I mean, I told y'all we was gonna get a backstory episode. We was gonna get a whole episode based on backstory. So we got the backstory episode. But like I said, I'm actually interested to see because it felt like this episode felt like the season finale. Like, it felt like we put a ribbon, like, it legitimately felt like they were wrapping the season up in this episode. That's why I was legitimately surprised. You know, so we'll see what happens in the next episode. Like, we'll see what, because like I said, I don't know where the threats are at this point, aside from that task force. But like I said, share your thoughts down below, and we will continue to talk about it. Hit me up on Twitter and or Instagram, always on YouTube, because again, this is the only show we're doing right now. So until next week for the season finale, like I said, we're still waiting for Harley Quinn. And we're waiting for that Doom Patrol. Oh, also, I'm gonna go see Thor. Like, I ain't want to. Like, I have issues with Thor. I'll explain that when I do my review for Love and or Thunder. But I will do a review for Love and Thunder. You just gotta give me some time, but it will come out at some point this week. Like I said, so that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. So until we conclude Ms. Marvel in next week's episode, take care, protect your family for all it's worth, and until next time, I'm out this bitch!